you like NASCAR? Do you like a tribe called Quest? Well, you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like manwich and nachos? Well, then you love the Urban Conservative.
Do you like guns? Do you like butter? Well, you're gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Yo, what's good, son? You like pit bulls, say? You like solving Sudoku puzzles? Then you gonna love the Urban Conservative.
Hey, buddy, if your car making a sound like this, you might want to get you some power steering fluid and check out the Urban Conservative podcast.
Are you repulsed by the idea of drag queen story time at your local library, but enjoy Carol Baskin TikTok memes? Then you would enjoy the Urban Conservative. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you know what time it is. Well, actually, you don't, because it's Thursday, and we never live on a Thursday, but we got a special show for y'all today. Welcome to the Urban Conservative Podcast on this beautiful Thursday, February 15th. You are watching either on Facebook or you are watching on our YouTube channel at TUC Twins, and we appreciate that. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we had to go live tonight, but before we do bring on our guests, I do have to remind everyone, make sure you head over to AliForCongress.com. Support my twin brother's campaign. He is running for Congress in the 12th district, working to make America better. Again, head over to Ali for Congress. Learn more about how you can do more in 24. Shouts out to my twin brother, Dual Ali, and the whole staff over there at Ali for Congress. We appreciate you guys. Also, you can head over to the website, tuconservative.com, where you can help us continue to spread conservative messaging, conservative policy ideas, and talking to conservative candidates by supporting what we do here at tuconservative.com. You can get yourself a membership, get yourself some apparel, a nice little mug, all those type of things over there at tuconservative.com. That is the play. So listen. We got a great show for you guys tonight. We had to do it on a Thursday, right? We had to come out the gates on a Thursday night. Tonight's guest, and this is a very, very special episode for us. A good friend of the show. And as I've seen this gentleman, work and do certain things, he's been a very, very effective legislator. We are proud to welcome to the show for the first time. We've interviewed him, but not on a live. So we are so proud to welcome to the show Kevin Crutchfield, North Carolina State House Rep. Welcome to the Urban Conservative, sir. How are you?
I'm doing great, Raheem. How are you?
I'm well. I can't complain. All is good. God is good. I'm good. Everything is good. How about you and the family?
Oh, I got 9 grandkids, so it's an exciting life around us. We're always going somewhere, doing something, and somebody's got to be somewhere. So it keeps us busy. Yes, sir.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Well, listen, let's dive right in. For the folks who don't know who Kevin Crutchfield is, give us the background. Who is Kevin Crutchfield? Where you from? How did you get involved in politics? All right, Ali, you there?
I am here, bro. What's good?
I think everything is good. Kevin is frozen. Representative Crutchfield is frozen in time.
All right, all good. Well, listen, I hope you have a dope interview. I would normally stay on, but I'm down here in Florida about to get suited and booted, make a couple of things happen. I know Kevin is going to do a great interview, but somebody I'm really proud of, proud that we could get him on the show, proud to support his reelection campaign for North Carolina House, bro. I know you said it in the beginning, but really solid dude. I couldn't be prouder of asking him to run for office. And man, just all the love and support to that brother. But I'm here in Palm Beach. I'm gonna go live tomorrow. I'll keep the family aware of what's popping. So when you get Kevin Crutchfield back in,
Well, hang out for a second until we get
yeah,
him back in. So yeah, I noticed that you said Palm Beach. You're in where? Where you at?
I am in Palm Beach.
Oh, okay. Well, such is the nature with live shows. Sometimes people don't have great connections, as it were. So we're gonna wait for Kevin to come on back in. Come on back in. And yeah,
All right. So, and full transparency, if you haven't done so already, I'm gonna take this
I
opportunity to
already
do
plugged it. I already plugged it.
it. I won't do the
I
plug.
mean, if you want to plug again, plug again. You know what I mean? I'm not opposed to more pluggage, but you know,
Listen, I wasn't expecting to be able to jump on. I just got the Wi-Fi here in the Airbnb. I got to give a big shout out to Damon Hagan. I'm getting ready to go get, like I said, get suited and booted and go get up with him. But there's a real opportunity, I think, this election cycle, not just for what Kevin Crutchfield's reelection campaign, but for what we're doing in the 12th congressional district and what a lot of solid candidates are trying to do, which is get our country going back in the right direction. I had an opportunity today to finally listen to the Supreme Court hearings for President Trump, the whole Colorado thing, bro. And our country is in a really precarious position right now. I cannot stress enough the need for you all to get out. It is the primary going on right now. Get out and vote, support your candidate. There's a lot of solid people running, but you got to make sure that you're participating in the process by getting out to vote and keeping your eyes on the prize, which is saving our country. So I'm gonna text him and see if he can jump back in. Hold on a sec.
yeah, sure thing. Also, really quickly, we just came off of this special election here. So now more than ever, conservatives, Republicans, it's important that you get out and vote. We've seen very low voter turnout in this special election. I mean, 35% Republican turnout ain't going to get it, folks. That ain't gonna get it. So we need to make sure we're turning out this vote. We need to make sure that you're picking people and you're selecting people to run that know what they're doing and that have the right moral fiber. Because now more than ever, we need that. We need people with morals in there. We need people that are going to stick to their guns, as it were, with some of these policy issues with our border, with our education, and all of those different things. Okay, I see Kevin back in. Here we go.
Yes.
Okay, we got action. We got action. Look who made it in.
What's up, Abdul?
Good to see you, sir. Listen, I'm down here in Florida. I wasn't expecting to be able to jump in. I'm getting suited up for an event, but I wanted to drop in. Hope y'all have a dope interview. But I appreciate what you're doing. You know, you have my support 1,000%. Looking forward to seeing you back up there in Raleigh to continue to do great things. But with that, I'm gonna let y'all rock out. Have fun on the interview. Peace and love, y'all.
All right, we got our duel checking in and checking out. All right. Oh, did we get a frozen Kevin again? I think we got a frozen Kevin. You might want to text them, Ali, and tell them to do laptop. I don't know if he's on a laptop or a phone, but he's clearly frozen again. So yeah, while we deal with the technical, he was fine when we were in the pre-studio, but now that we're live, he's freezing. He's not moving for you either, right?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, that must be on his end wherever he's at. He must have very bad signal.
All right, all good. But I will say, hold on. While you do that, what I am gonna do, I'm gonna do this right here. Hold on, hold
And
on.
go for it.
I'm gonna do
Go
this
for it.
right here. Hold on. Because I can't, and I know you're gonna get to this in the interview, right? But there's something people gotta know. It's. Hold on, where's it at?
Yeah, I can
Here.
see his signal is very low. It says poor.
Okay. So I just gotta say this, bro, this is. Hold on, how do I share? I'm gonna share this right now because there's been a lot said during this primary. I'm sure you're gonna get to it, but that's important right there. Somebody, a staunch leader in the Cabarrus County community, Robert Freeman Sr., former chairman of the Cabarrus County Board of Commissioners, just came out with his endorsement of Kevin Crutchfield. So for candidates, people out there talking about Kevin Crutchfield is a racist and all of this, I'm sure Robert Freeman knows a racist when he sees one. I'm proud to endorse Kevin for his genuine concern for the people in our community. This is amazing. Not only that, you see he was just recently endorsed by the NRA, which is amazing. Not only that, he's endorsed by the Senate Majority Whip Jim Perry. Not only that, the Professional Firefighters and Paramedics Association in North Carolina endorsed him. Not only that, he got a 100% voting record with a history of sponsoring pro-gun legislation by Grassroots North Carolina. Not only that, Senator Danny Britt endorsed him. Not only that, not only that, where's it at? Where's it at? Where's the other one? He was able to bring over $185 million back to Cabarrus County. Not only that, he's endorsed by AFP North Carolina. Not only that, do I got to keep going? He's endorsed by Representative Jarrett Lowry. And on top of that, he's endorsed by Representative Ken Fontenot, the only black Republican in the state legislature. So all of this idea, I know you'll get to it in the interview, bro, but this idea that Kevin Crutchfield is some sort of racist is preposterous. It's stupid. It's one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. But since we lost him and the signal got dropped, I figured
I'm back.
All right, I'm out. Y'all got it.
I'm back here now.
All right, cool. Well, I know we having some technical issues, but my first question was just for the audience who don't know you, right? Give them a little bit of your background, how you got involved in politics, where you from. Just kind of give them that backdrop to who is Kevin Crutchfield.
Well, oddly enough, Raheem, I'm actually was born in New York. Don't hold that against me, though.
I won't.
I was born in Kingston, New York. My dad was an IBM guy, so IBM stands for I've been moved. So we've moved around a little bit, and ended up in Charlotte in 1981 and got a job working for the IBM Corporation. Worked there for about 15 years, but knew I had a passion to run my own business. And through a series of things that happened, my wife and I started a company 25 years ago called Casco Signs. Living right here in the community where we have 3 sons. We raised them here in the community. I said earlier, we have 9 grandchildren. And we started this company as a family-owned business. Today we have over 45 employees, and it keeps us quite busy. And my sons have all gone away to college, came back from school. And when I decided to seek election in the State House, they just agreed that they would take over the company. So them and their mother are actually running the business right now. So I think that kind of gives you a little bit of a snapshot. You know, being a small business owner and starting something from the ground up, nobody looked at me and said, "Hey, Kevin, here's a chunk of money, go start a business." It was something we started from nothing, you know, with a pickup truck and a ladder, literally. And we've grown up to about 45 employees. So it's been good to us. The customers have been good. The business has been good. We also have a farm down in Midland, North Carolina, where we raise Santa Gertrudis beef cattle. And we sell beef to the public off the farm, and keeps us pretty busy. So I've been involved in politics. You know, I've been a Republican since I was old enough to register, which I assume 16, 18 years old. I can't remember that far back now, but being a conservative has always been, you know, part of my character and part of who we are. My wife and I, funny story, when we first got married, we were living in an apartment down in Charlotte, North Carolina, and I looked at her after about 3 months and said, "Honey, we haven't saved a dime." She said, "What do you mean?" She said, "We haven't saved a penny. We'll never get a house." So we made a decision to go find a mobile home that we could purchase that was in kind of rough shape. In fact, in the one we bought, you couldn't walk in the bathroom when we first got it because the floors were rotten in it. So we spent a month living with my parents and getting the place prepared where we could live there. Moved into that, and within 2 years, we saved enough money to put a down payment on our first lot. And we built, 5 or 6 houses since then. But it's always been something we've done ourselves. We started from the ground up. You know, somebody said, "Well, how'd you learn how to build a house?" I said, "I spent a lot of time driving around to other job sites, looking at how other people built them." I said, "You know, if I do what they do, then I should be fine." Mm-hmm. And that's really kind of where I got the skill set. My dad was always a do-it-yourself kind of guy, so we were always the kind of people that worked on our own cars, built our own porches and decks, and put in swimming pools, that kind of stuff. But taking that background and coupled with driving around the job sites and seeing how these houses were built, I ended up building my first house ourselves. So that's kind of where I came from, kind of who I am. I've always worked hard, coached a lot of little league sports. Literally standing at the polls today next to a young man that's working for another candidate. But I actually coached him when he was probably 5 years old, and he still calls me coach. It's kind of one of those things that just never gets old to these boys. It's a gentleman that works in our fire department. I went to see, he's one of the lead men on our fire department here in Concord. I went to see him the other day, and he said, "I can't call you anything but coach. Nothing else feels right." So,
So let me ask, growing up, was politics something discussed in the house, or was it a quiet kind of, it wasn't brought up?
No, I won't say it wasn't brought up. You know what? I kind of got to I grew up in the Reagan years, and Reagan was a big shot in the arm to the Republican Party. And my dad, I think he always reflected conservative values, but he never really said, hey, never sat us down and said, hey, you're this, you're Republican, you're that. He kind of let us develop our own thoughts on politics. But, watching him and his involvement, he was involved in the Cabarrus County Republican Party for several years. And I kind of sat on the outside watching him. And then, unfortunately, in 2010, he passed away. And I said, well, it looks like it's my time to pick up the baton and carry it forward. So I got involved in the local party, and that's really how I got here, was getting involved, caring about, it's easy to sit around and complain about things, but if you want to do something about it, sometimes you just got to get involved and get your feet dirty and get in there and figure out what's going on. At least then, even if you don't agree with everything, you know how it happens and what's going on. So that's my goal.
Right, understood. Now, kind of, and not to say off subject, but kind of outside of the district kind of things. Like as an elected official and as somebody that's been involved for years, how has the changes over the last, 4 or 5 years, right? How has someone that's seen the best of the country now seeing where things are headed? Like, give me your take on that, because we have border issues. Obviously, we have fentanyl issues coming into the country, and we were doing good for a few years during the Trump era. Obviously, I mean, even if you took Trump's name off of it and you put another name and body there, but the same delivery, same goods, same bill of goods, right? We would say things were great. So from your perspective, how has it been watching these changes over the years?
Painful. It's been painful. It's very difficult to sit back and watch what's going on and feel helpless. People ask me today, I got to ask, what are we going to do in North Carolina to protect our borders? And I said, the challenge is we've got to do that. We've got to figure out what the plan is, because it's coming. And, it's not that I'm against immigration at all. I'm not against it at all. I'm just against, doing it illegally and doing it in a fashion which is going to put the rest of us at risk, whether it be through fentanyl or through folks that move here that didn't grow up in an American society and don't understand the way laws and stuff work here. So that's very concerning to me. It's something I think if we don't change what's happening in the White House, we're going to be in deep trouble. And it literally keeps you up at night. You up at night worrying about it. So, North Carolina, we just made the legislature came forward and put a letter together and sent it to our governor. There's 125 North Carolina National Guard that are down in Texas helping the federal government down there on the border control. And we wrote a letter to our governor and said, hey, we want you to reassign our North Carolina National Guard to the governor of Texas and let him help their government with what they're doing down there to protect that border. And I think, the governor wasn't too receptive to that, but we're going to continue that effort into the short session. We're going to see what we can do to make some differences down there.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things you mentioned, that hard work and that, doing things with your hands, how important, or what has that helped bring, in your legislative career? How has that helped, that perspective? Because I like to see business people in office. I think those are the best politicians, if you will, people that come from the business community, not people that, what it's like to sign a paycheck. Whereas a lot of elected officials have really never produced anything, and I'm not taking shots at anybody, but can you speak to what that, how that work ethic plays into your legislative career?
Well, I think, when it comes to the financial side of it, I don't look at this money as someone, the money in the state government. I don't really look at it as somebody else's money. I think of it as our own money. And, somebody says, well, we're not losing a lot of money there. Well, to me, it's a lot of money. To you, it's a lot of money, and it's our tax money. We don't want to waste it. So I got to sit through the entire budget process this year, which was very educational, but also gave me an idea of where all the money goes and how it gets distributed. And there's some things that I think we should change, some things where I don't think we as taxpayers are not getting the best return on our investment. And I think I look at all that stuff as from a business environment, like, hey, you want to spend taxpayers' money on this, what's the return to them? How are they going to get paid back for the investment they're making in these things? And, a lot of it comes down to the money that we talked about earlier about bringing back to the district. We're putting that money into water and sewer and other issues in the state, and in our county, and we're investing it into our future, just like I would go buy a piece of equipment in my business, and I expect a return on that investment, and we expect a return on the money we spend as legislators. So that's kind of the difference, I think, for me, is just knowing that I always look at it from the standpoint of I just never think of it as somebody else's money. It's our money.
Right. I hear the saying, the free lunch saying like, oh, it's a free lunch. And no, it's not a free lunch.
No,
Someone's
it's
paying
not.
for that. There's never like free's not a thing, right? It may be free to you, but the rest of us homeowners, taxpayers, etc., we're footing the bill for some of those things. I know that the abortion issue was a big deal in North Carolina, and
Yes, it was.
I would like to see a in a perfect scenario, right? We wouldn't have to have the conversation because people would be in the state of mind that, and I'll say it, that you're killing a child. That's
Right.
essentially my opinion. That's what I think abortion is. Not I'm not talking about medically saving the parents, the mother's life. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about it's when it's done as a form of birth control. So how hard has that been to work on that issue and kind of give the folks a background of what that's been like from the North Carolina side of things? I'm in New York, so there it's extreme here with what they're proposing, but there's been some ground made in that respect in North Carolina, correct?
Yes, there has. And it's when I got elected, I went up to the state house for the first time. You might say, why is it the first time? But that was literally the first time I've been to the state house. And just walking down the sidewalk to the building, it kind of got overwhelmed a little bit and dropped to my knees thinking, that we're going to be in a position to pass some really dramatic legislation in North Carolina. And my goal when I went up there was to stand for and try to get a heartbeat bill. That was, even though that's not a protect all, it is the goal at the time. And it's been said that I didn't stand for a heartbeat bill, which is absolutely false. There's people in the state house that confirmed that. I was very disappointed when we couldn't get a heartbeat bill. But when that came to a reality that we were not going to be able to get one, we were not going to be able to get the support one. My goal was to save lives. And what we did with the 12-week bill is we moved the needle and we changed the conversation. So while we've not, do I feel remorse every day about the lives we're not saving? Absolutely, I do. But I also feel joy about the ones we are saving. And I think I heard the other day that abortion in North Carolina is down 33% since we passed that legislation.
Yeah, and that's
that legislation is key. It's the most comprehensive protect life bill that was been passed in North Carolina in the history of North Carolina. And I also have to remind people sometimes we've been dealing with Roe versus Wade for 50 years. Why do we think in North Carolina we're going to solve it in one? I think it's you got to start moving the needle. You got to start changing the conversation. And I think we've done that in North Carolina, and I'm extremely proud of the legislation that we've passed to get that done. Yes, I think we have more to do, but I also think we've made a lot of progress.
So I'm going to go back just a second. So what makes a successful business owner go, I want to run for state house? What makes you jump into that fray coming from the business world? Because a lot of the times I hear that question framed as in what would make you want to get involved in this insanity, but I don't see it that way. I see it as somebody that's wanting to be a part of the change or be a larger part of the change. So what for you made you go, you know what, I'm throwing my hat in the ring?
Well, a lot of it comes back, Raheem, to my kids, my grandkids and stuff. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do for your grandkids, when you're gone, and most of them financial. Mm-hmm. But I thought, I want to do something for them that'll last a lifetime. So getting involved in politics and going to Raleigh and trying to be part of the solution, for me was a way to protect their future, to give them the opportunity that I've had in North Carolina to grow a business, to be successful. I've got 5 granddaughters, 2 of them that play highly competitive soccer. And I promised them when I got elected that I would go to Raleigh and fight for some protections to protect girls in sports. And we passed that. So that's moving the needle again in a direction of common sense in my mind, but also standing up for women and defending their rights to have their own sports. And I can't say enough about how good it feels to know that I've done that. And, moving the needle on the protection of life, I think that's been very key. We've passed some great legislation to require our sheriffs to work with ICE agents when it comes to immigration issues. So we don't have it passed to the Senate yet, but we've got it passed to the House, and I think we'll get that moved in the short session. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of wanting to be part of something that's got a long-lasting effect on the future of North Carolina. I didn't need to do this. I didn't have to do it. I chose to do it. It's some might say it's probably the worst business decision of my life, and you probably question my business acumen when you think this is what I've done. Given up what I'm doing as a company, which the great news is the boys and my wife are doing a great job running. Sales are actually up since I left, so I probably should have left a couple years ago. But they're doing an amazing job, and that's great. And I'm grateful to be in a position where I can afford to go do this.
Excellent, excellent. So we're going to take a quick commercial break, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking with State House Representative and candidate running for re-election, Kevin Crutchfield. Stay tuned. We'll be right back after this quick commercial break.
Just because you're black doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Urban Conservative here on this beautiful Thursday, February 15th. Shouts out to all of the wives. Happy Valentine's Day, belated Valentine's Day, and all that good stuff. Hope you got chocolates and candies and whatever else and good dinners and all that good stuff. I want to legislative accomplishments, right? You spoke a little bit. My brother mentioned a little bit about the resources you've been able to bring back to your district, right? So looking back, right, from here, what are, like, if you had to list, let's say your top 2 or 3 legislative accomplishments, what would those be?
Well, the top 2 would have to be Protect the Women in Sports and the Protect Life bill. Those definitely would be top 2. The thing that's fun about a freshman is you don't know what you don't know. And my goal when I went up there was to sit back and listen a lot, to learn the process, to learn how things are done, how to be an effective leader when it comes to being up there. You don't walk into somebody else's sandbox and just take over, because that's not going to happen. They're going to put you off in a corner somewhere. So my goal in the first year was just figure out the system and how things work and what's it take to get a bill passed. And, some of the bills I passed in the very beginning through the House were somewhat simple bills, but it was also things that got me adapted to the process of understanding what it takes to get that done. And I think that was important, not to step into it and try to say, oh, I'm going to save the world with a very complex piece of legislation that I really wasn't prepared to put forth. And working with other colleagues, I think one of the great things about being up there is we have business people as well, but we also have doctors and lawyers and teachers and professionals from other industries that we get to sit down with and bring these ideas to come together and try to figure out how the legislation we're thinking about, how is this going to affect other industries around our state or other populations, and try to craft some legislation that really does make sense and really does give us a chance to solve a problem without creating a problem in the process. And I think that was my goal in the beginning, was let's just figure out how this works. And I think I've done a really good job at that. We talked about endorsements at the beginning of this. I think one of the reasons that I've had success up there is because leadership sees me as someone who can be a positive part of their team and a positive part of change in North Carolina and moving the needle forward and trying to make us a very productive and desirable state to live in. And it's not because I'm running around falling on my knees, falling to leadership, but I am willing to sit down with them and able to sit down with them and discuss issues we have and come up with reasonable solutions that everybody can work with.
Sure. So, and what do you say to the, and I'll use the word accusation, if you will, that somehow you benefit financially from legislation?
Well, I wish they'd show me how. I'm a pretty good business guy, and I've got pretty good background in accounting, and I know what it takes, what the investment is, and what the return is, and the legislation that they're talking about. In not one case that I can find am I going to benefit financially. Now, they twist the words to it of what's going on with it to make it look like I could, but I'm not. One of the pieces of legislation, for example, I consider it more of a property rights bill. Currently in North Carolina, when the DOT comes into a community and has to buy rights of way, if you have anything sitting in that right of way, like in my case, a sign or a building or anything else that's constructed in the right of way, the DOT will pay you for the land, but they'll also pay you to move that structure, whether it be a sign or a building or whatever. Well, what happens in some of these smaller towns is they come back and, in the case, let's say the sign's 30 years old, they come back and say, well, you can't move that sign because it no longer conforms to our new code that we set out. So what they're saying is, hey, Mr. Business Owner, we realize you've invested a bunch of money in that sign, but we're going to seize that asset and no longer let you to use it because we've changed our ordinance. What I put forth is said, hey, look, if the sign was in existence in compliance and was erected according to the code at the time it was erected, and the DOT is going to pay them to move it, the town must give them a permit and allow them to move that. So people say, well, I'm going to make money off that. Well, the fact is that's not true. I'm actually giving up money because I'm suggesting to my customers, hey, let's move your old sign instead of building a new sign. Now, I'd make money if I was passing legislation to build a new sign. But in this case, I'm saying, no, I don't really want to do that. Because it's your property and I think you should have a right to keep it, I propose that they be allowed to move that sign in those instances where that occurs. So it's kind of funny they say I'm going to make money when in fact I'm actually, not going to make as much as I could if I built them a brand new sign.
Right. I have to ask. So, have you changed your perception on how the sausage is made? Right, because being outside of that legislative body, you might see things one way, but now that you're inside and you've served, right? Do you see a difference in how that sausage is made? Have you come to, or is it as bad as we think it is? I feel like people need to know that. Like, how do things work in the with legislation? How have you come to understand that process?
I think it's interesting, North Carolina, I used to work at IBM and we did budgeting at IBM. And it was interesting to me to see how similar budgeting in North Carolina is to what we did in corporate life. It sounds easy on the outside, and self-included. I'm sure there were times I had judgments that I've been proven wrong by going through the process. But, it's a very big animal to put your hands around this budget and how it operates and how it works. And, we actually go to state agencies. The budget gets put together by looking at the state agencies we support around the state and say, what's your needs for the next calendar year? What do you need to operate your agency effectively? And they put forth proposals to us of what they'd like to have. And we take all those agency budgets and put them together and say, okay, this is what the budget looks like. This is what we're going to have to spend on. So then we go look at the finance side and say, okay, what's the revenue stream of what we're going to bring in to support that budget? Now, if the revenue stream doesn't come in enough to support that budget, we got to go back to agencies and say, we got to cut some stuff. We got to pull some things out. If the revenue stream that we have coming in from the finance side, which is a taxation, that's where North Carolina gets their revenue from. If it's high enough, then we have the opportunity to fulfill the budget. But also in the case of this year, we had some surplus revenues from taxation. We were able to take that in appropriations and take it back to the districts and invest it back in our state, like I said earlier about investing in business. I hear a lot of people talk about the education lottery and how it doesn't go to the education anymore. And, I sitting to look at the budget, I saw the revenue that comes in from the education lottery. I see how it's allocated back to the education. So it really is being applied. And there's some really serious misconceptions within the state about how money comes in and how it goes out and how it's actually spent. And sitting on the inside and watching that happen, I think, yes, I get a perspective of, things I like and things I don't like. I think, we spend a great deal of money on the UNC system within North Carolina. It's a huge amount of money. And, sometimes I look at some of those things and I think, I don't know if I really feel that's a good investment of taxpayer money to invest in that particular situation with the university. I know we were very proud of, North Carolina has a lot of great universities. We really do. It's a great educational system. And that's a draw for businesses to move here because there's employable people that live here in the state. But it's also a burden on the taxpayers because we're spending a lot of money. Our budget is $32 billion. Think about that, $32 billion. And we spend half of that just on education, not counting the community, not counting colleges, but just on education within the K through 12 system. That's a lot of money. It's a lot of opportunity for money to be misappropriated and misspent. And I was at a meeting last night where a gentleman was talking about how he doesn't feel like they're spending the money where they're supposed to. It's almost impossible. We give an agency of money and they're responsible for that budget, to run that budget, to run their agency and do what they're chartered to do. But we don't get in there and say, oh, wait a minute, you spent this 25 cents on pencils. We can't manage it at that level. The agency has to be responsible to do that. And then they have to report back on how they spent that money. And of course, we audit that and look at that as well. But it's much more agency driven, It's not like we sit up there and say, this is how much you're going to get. They ask how much they need, and then we figure out how we can fund that and how we can use that money to benefit the citizens of North Carolina. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. And I'll ask this too, because the more I've gotten involved in local politics here and being on my committee and, attending things and being there, have you experienced, let's say, being in the grocery store and hearing people talk about an issue and you can tell that they have no real, like, maybe they're repeating the media talking points, which are incorrect, right?
Mhm.
And you almost want to correct them, but then you kind of can't. Like, you got to kind of mind your business. Has that happened yet? Because I get that a lot. Like, I'll be standing there in the checkout, and people will be talking about something, and it's like, yeah, that's totally not the way that goes, or the way that that is. Have you experienced that yet?
Absolutely. It's in fact, it's going on in a big way right now in Cabarrus County because we just are receiving in the mail our reevaluations for property values, which ultimately will indicate whether or not we have an increase or decrease in taxation in the county. And, you know, people are so upset because the valuation went up, but the rate hasn't been set yet. So we really don't know. I tell people all the time, what I care about is, I don't care about the valuation. I don't care about the rate. What I care about is how much do I have to write that check for? Is that check amount going up or is it going down?
Mhm.
And because we haven't informed them what the rate will be, because that's not been yet determined, everybody's really excited because some property valuations have gone up like 60%. Seems ridiculous, but in the end, if the rate comes down low enough and you don't write any bigger check, then there's really not a big tax increase. But people don't really understand that the valuation doesn't automatically equate to a tax increase. Do I
Yeah.
think taxes will go up in Cabarrus County? I think they will some, because the cost of labor, the cost of materials, the cost of everything the county does to support the operation of the county have gone up. So we've got to expect some increase in that, just like we expect that we're going to get a pay raise to some degree. That, you know, prices go up. But I think it's interesting that, and it's hard on people because they don't understand and they want to understand, but they causes a lot of mental stress when they think about their property values going up that much and they're worried about the tax bill that they might get. So yeah, and it's not, I don't say it's, I just think it's because they're not informed. It's not because they're not intelligent people. They just don't know. And I think that's one of the things we have to do is make sure they get educated on that so that everybody's comfortable with what's happening.
Right. I want to talk a little bit about your reelection here. Constituent services. I've noticed if working with legislators here, working with, town council people here, and we have some really good leadership here in my town. How important is that constituent service to you, and how important should it be to others, right? To other elected officials, if you
Well,
could speak to that. Mhm.
yeah, I'm sorry. Think about it. It's, that's why we got elected, for the folks that these are the people that elected us, and our job is to serve them. And in my office, it's priority number one. We've answered well over 6,000 emails this year from constituent requests that came in. We've solved about 45 cases of people that called in with issues with DMV or with the VA or some other state agency where they just can't get any headway with it. And those things come in and we get involved. We had a case recently where a young lady in Cabarrus County, 32-year-old young lady, had a brain aneurysm and passed away. 7-year-old son, her mother's in Peru, right? Her mother's trying to figure out how to get here. She goes to the consulate. They say to her, and this just happened within the last month. Counselor says, well, we can get you an interview in September. And that's 4, 5, 6 months away, right? So through working with Dan Bishop's office and some folks we have in Raleigh through our office, we were able to get her an appointment within 6 days. And she was she was in the United States within 6 days of when we made the call. So helping people like that. She was here. She was able to come get her grandson, deal with the situation, and helping people in those manners it just really makes it worthwhile. We helped a guy in the DMV. He had such a problem with the DMV, and we were able to solve his problem within 4 hours. And that's very important to us to do that. And my legislative assistant, Caitlin Fontaine, does an amazing job at helping getting that stuff done and tracking it and make sure we get through to the end of it. We get people calling us. An attorney here in town called us just this week about an issue with a gentleman related to the VA. It's a long story. I won't get into it other than to say, she said to me, she says, Kevin, you guys are my go-to people when it comes to getting something solved, because it's what we do. It was recently said at a commission. It was a forum for House representatives that I wasn't able to be there because I was at another event, and I was chastised for not being there by our local party chair. And he said he won't return my calls. He's likely not to return yours. Well, that's just not true. It's just not the way it works. And you can call my office anytime. We're going to return your call.
Absolutely. Well, we're in primary season. Um, speak to that a little bit, because I've heard some, and I'll use the word disgusting attacks thrown your way. My brother, and I don't mean this in skin color, I mean my identical twin brother loves you.
Right.
He's always spoken very highly of you. He loves you. He loves your family, and he was disturbed by some of the allegations that were made by your opponent. And if you want to address any of those allegations, you being a racist, any of these nonsensical things, but we're in primary, and I know people are concerned about that. So if you can address some of those things, or if you're comfortable doing so.
Well, I think it's interesting. I mean, I try really hard not to respond to everything that he posts on Facebook, because it just becomes this childish back and back thing. Anybody that knows who I am, and I know there's a lot of people that don't, but anybody that knows who I am knows that all the stuff he put out there is just fabricated. It's the payroll protection program. He had chastised me in public for, in his mind, taking $1 million from the federal government. I look at it this way, when there's a flood in North Carolina, there's hurricanes, tornadoes, it's any kind of natural disaster, which you can look at the pandemic and realize that's why it may not be natural. It is a disaster. The federal government comes in and steps in and says, hey, how can we help restore the community? One of their issues this time was, how do we protect jobs from people? We've shut down the government. We've told people to go home. How do we protect these jobs? They came up with what's called a payroll protection program. You had to apply for it. You had to meet certain criterias. It was all tracked, and there was only certain things you could spend that money on. Like, I was not allowed to pay myself my payroll through that PPP money. I could pay my employees, but the ownership of the company was not able to compensate themselves. So all that money that we received from the government was actually distributed to employees through their payroll checks. But yet in his mind, I took it. Well, I didn't take anything. They offered it. And the other thing I would say about that is, I never personally never received that money. That money went to my company. My company used it for the purposes of paying payroll. And I can tell you this, I have 45 people that are grateful that they were able to keep their jobs through the pandemic and keep food on their table and keep their family fed, and keep their lives, their houses paid for and their insurance paid for and those kind of things. So I think it was a very positive program, and it helped a lot of business. I think 8,700 businesses in North Carolina applied for and received payroll protection funds. We were just one of those. So I'm not embarrassed by that. I'm actually proud of the fact that we were intelligent enough and timely enough to apply for that, to protect our employees and their jobs. There's other things that have been said about me that are not true. And, I've been in Cabarrus County for 41 years. Yes, there's been some other things that I've been through, but I've never not paid my bills, and they've always been resolved. There's been differences of opinion or position sometimes between myself and material suppliers. Sometimes when it comes to building houses, you get differences of thoughts about things, the price that should be paid. Those have always been resolved, and I've always paid those bills. So anybody that thinks less of that than me, they just don't know me.
Right. Well, I'll tell you from our investigation and from what we've looked into, some of the claims. There seems to be a rash of what do you call it? Projection. It's like you blame your opponent, or say your opponent's doing something that you're doing, right? And one of these
Yeah.
things was a rent issue that came up, and what we found out is that this guy's currently in court, facing these type of things. And we can put the paperwork up and things of that nature, but I don't think that's necessary. I don't like nasty primaries, Kevin. I think it's despicable when we're in the same party. I understand it's a competitive thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey, I think I can do a better job than you, and here's why. So I got to share this with you. So I actually had a candidate come in and say the following thing. We asked the candidate, well, what makes you better, than the incumbent for this legislative seat? And this is what the guy said. Not that my opponent has done a bad job. I have a better resume. And this was like Harvard law. I have a better resume. And
Mm-hmm.
that was a turnoff to me. It was like, you didn't say, I can do a better job bringing resources to the county. I can do this. I can do that. You said I have a better resume. And that felt like a personal shot. And I don't like the nastiness of primaries, right? So I applaud you for taking the high ground on some of these things. And, It's just absolutely disgusting and despicable, and it shows the character of people when we're supposed to be in the same party and share the same values. So by all means be competitive, right? By all
Right,
means say,
right.
I think I can do a better job than Kevin, here's why. And then after, after the people decide, we go have a beer, pat each other on the back, great job. I think we should be able to do that. Does that sound about right?
I think we should be able to do it. My last election, uh, I actually ran against two gentlemen in Rowan County, and both of them treated me with respect. I treated them with respect. We all got along very well. Nobody slung any mud or tried to create any false narratives about who they were, who they weren't, and I thought it went very well. In this race, I literally stood next to my opponent in the last election cycle when he was running against another candidate and listened to what he would say about people and about races. And he literally told me one time, he says, I know how to win races in this county. You just got to find more dirt on them than they find on you. And I took offense to that, but that was the way he thought about this thing. So I wasn't surprised when we ended up in the same district that he decided to attack me. I just expected it to happen and was just surprised at how long it took him to do it.
Right.
And in the beginning, he started this by throwing me under the bus at a Harrisburg Town Council meeting. And I didn't want to go negative, but I felt the necessary to go negative. And I'm a little bit stubborn. When someone punches me in the mouth, I'm not going to sit down and lay down in the corner and cry about it. I'm going to punch back, and I'm going to do the same thing when I'm in Raleigh. When things come at me that are not right, I'm going to stand for it, and I'm going to fight for it. So I just think that's what I'm supposed to do. I don't like the dirty primaries. I know some things that we're not going to share. We're not going to talk about, because I'm just trying to focus on what am I going to do. And I think the biggest thing is if you look at my record and what I've been able to accomplish in 1 year as a freshman is pretty phenomenal. And it's not because I'm trying to pat myself on the back. I'm just saying, look, you don't fire the quarterback when you're a winning team. Cabarrus County had a winning season last year under the leadership that it had. And I was part of that team. And I just think it's not the smartest thing to fire the guy that got you to win the game. In my mind of last year, we won the game. And so that's really what, that's kind of where I am on that.
Right. Well, on the tail end of this here, what's next for you in Raleigh? What are the next steps for you? What are you looking? Kind of give us a flash forward, because I'm confident you'll get through this primary on top, and through the general on top. So what are the next kind of steps you're looking for in Raleigh, and the next things you got going on?
Well, we have short session coming up that starts mid-April, mid to the end of April. I have some bills that have made it through the House that are sitting in the Senate that I'd like to get passed. Some of those are the legislation we talked about earlier. They don't become law until you get the Senate to pass them and get them signed by the governor. So I would like to accomplish that. We passed a piece of legislation this year. It's called an aggregated crimes bill, which will help our DAs when it comes to prosecuting people that are career criminals. When they do multiple crimes, they can aggregate all those crimes together, get a higher charge, a higher felony charge. And that's going to be great to see that come into fruition. I have a real, one of the things I became aware of after I became a legislator, that I wasn't aware of, is the significant amount of issues we have with human trafficking. So I've been working with the state of Florida. Actually has some legislation that we're trying to adopt in North Carolina, which requires hotels and restaurants and those kind of folks to train their employees to recognize and report human trafficking, potential human trafficking. And that's one of the things we have on our agenda, is to try to get something forward in the short session to get that legislation moved forward. We're trying to be really thoughtful about it. We're inviting all the folks in from the hotel industry, restaurants, from the Airbnbs and the VRBOs, so that we can come up with some legislation, construct some legislation that's going to be effective, but also it has to have teeth in it so that law enforcement can do something with it. And we don't want to create some arbitrary rules that no one's going to have to follow. And then when they don't follow them, that we can't call the sheriff's department and say, hey, you need to fix this. You need to do something about it. So that's pretty high on our priority list to get that done.
Excellent. All right. So as we come to the tail end of this, what I didn't tell you at the beginning of the show, was that it is time for the lightning round.
Oh,
and
goodness.
you will win the full screen and the plug, 30-second plug to 1 minute plug at the end of the show. I didn't tell you we were going to do this lightning round. You're going to be asked a series of questions, and just give your honest answer. We do this so people actually, get to know a little bit more about you. So, first question. If you could time travel to any pop culture moment from your youth, which one would it be, and what nostalgic snack would you enjoy with that experience?
Man, back to the 70s, I get a moon pie and a belly washer grape.
There you go.
BI belly washer grape.
Okay, if you were creating a playlist of your top three favorite songs from your teenage years, what comfort food would you pair with those songs?
What comfort food? Man, you got me on that one. That's a tough one. Always like a good hamburger, man.
Hamburgers
like
are good.
Hamburger.
Okay, and the top three favorite songs from your teenage years. What do we got?
I have no idea.
Okay, I'll take it. There you go. Sold. Nike or Adidas?
Adidas.
Really? Okay. I would have took you as a Nike guy, but I can see Adidas. I can see you in a pair of shell toes.
Nike burned the bridge with me a few years ago.
Oh, poor Nike. Yeah. I don't wear them anymore either. I'm more of Adidas guy myself. Nice pair of shell toes. Nice pair of those. Chuck Taylors, things of that nature. That's about my speed. Okay. Schwarzenegger or Stallone?
Ooh, I think I'm going to go with Stallone on that one.
Really? Okay. Yeah. I could. Rocky. No, I'm a Commando guy. I dig Commando.
First Blood, you know.
Yeah. Okay. Star Trek or Star Wars?
Star Trek.
Yeah, I'm a Kirk guy. I like the original. I like the old guy. We go to bed to that in this house. That's what we go to sleep to is the original Star Trek around these parts. Okay. Rock and roll or bluegrass?
Rock and roll. For sure.
Fair enough.
I like some bluegrass, but rock and roll's
Okay. Well, you said this one already, but I have to ask: hot dog or hamburger?
Hamburger.
Okay. What toppings do not belong on a pizza?
Anchovies.
Really? No anchovies? What about pineapple? Do you do the pineapple?
I like pineapple. Yeah.
I can't do warm pineapple. There's something about warm pineapple I can't do. Okay. All right. Last two questions here in the lightning round. We have: if you are stuck on a desert island for the rest of your life and you can only have one meal for each meal of the day. So one meal forever for breakfast, one meal forever for lunch, one meal forever for dinner. What are those meals?
I think I'd go with cereal for breakfast, because it's going to last a while. For lunch, probably a grilled cheese sandwich. And for supper, maybe a ribeye.
Ribeye, okay. How you taking that ribeye? Medium well?
Medium with baked potato. I'm not sorry, a baked sweet potato.
Baked sweet potato. Side asparagus, or are we doing the asparagus?
Probably no asparagus.
No asparagus. All right. Well, listen, you've won the lightning round. Representative Crutchfield, the floor is yours. Take all the time you need to plug. How can people support you? How can they help your campaign? The floor is yours.
Well, that's a good one. I appreciate it. Helping me comes down to getting me votes, convincing, talking to people and telling them about who I am and what I stand for. Getting votes is what it takes to win these elections. Money always helps, but the votes are just as important. So, go to my website, votekevincrutchfield.com. You can learn more about me there. My resume's on there. The endorsements I've received are on there. There's a lot of information on there about who I am. There's also a contact on there by email. You can sign up for my email that we do it twice a month right now. We do it once a month in session, twice a month during campaign season. A lot of information out there about how to figure out who Kevin Crutchfield is.
Absolutely. Well, listen, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. We appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, make sure you head over to the website, votekevincrutchfield.com. You see it on your screen. Hit the volunteer button, hit the donate button. More importantly, make sure you are registered to vote. Make sure you get out there and you vote. Make sure your voice is heard. We need good people like Kevin to stay in office. When is that primary election? When is that down there?
It's March 5th.
So
also keep in mind, it's the same week as spring break. So if you're going to go on spring break, you need to vote early.
Absolutely. Make sure to get that early vote in. But again, make sure to visit the website. That is votekevincrutchfield.com. CRUTCHFIELD. Votekevincrutchfield.com. For my twin brother, Representative Crutchfield, I have to say thank you so much. We are eternally grateful you came on the show. We know time is the one thing you cannot get back, so we appreciate you spending, an hour of your time with us here on the Urban Conservative. We support you. We're 100% behind you. We thank you for what you're doing there. And if there's anything that we can do, please feel free to let us know. We'll be praying for you, pulling for you, and all that good stuff. Shouts out to Caitlin. Thank you for putting this together for us, Caitlin. We appreciate you. And if there's any last shout outs you want to give, feel free to give them.
Man, I just want to say thank you to you and the Duel for what you guys do and trying to bring the message to the people. So thank you for the opportunity to be here. It's a pleasure, and I'm happy to come back anytime.
Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, for my twin brother Dor Ali, I'm Raheem Architect Soto. Please make sure to come back here tomorrow morning for top of the morning. We will be doing the weekly wrap up and we will be rerunning this show. Make sure you're back here 8 a.m. bright and early. Monday night for the Urban Conservative. We have let me see. I do think we have a show Monday. I think we got Jim Key running for state auditor coming on the show Monday night. So don't miss that. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen, for my twin brother, Dor Ali. This has been the Urban Conservative on a Thursday. Peace and love, folks.
All right, good night.
Just because you're black doesn't mean you have to vote Democrat. This year, in order to see benefits for our communities, we need to vote outside the box. Find out more by visiting us at tuconservative.com.